right now?
Yeah.
No, it's crazy. It's just like how you were saying earlier, like when you talk to people, they like, it's been downhill, right?
Yeah. Like, didn't it crash?
I know. And it's like, that's what you should want. Like, and it's like the people that take advantage of that are the ones that, but that's just for any investment strategy. Like, that's just like human psychology for any sort of assets. It's like, people will line up to buy the asset when everyone's like, it's popping off. It's like at 60K. Like that. You ever see that one meme where let me pull it up. It's like,
I think I know what you're talking about.
Everyone's lining up to buy the 60,000 Bitcoin and no one wants it.
Like
right
15,
here.
20.
Yeah, like this one. Right?
Yep,
yeah,
exactly.
It's so funny. It's just human
Fucking
psychology.
Plebs, man.
Yeah, but if you can, have the conviction and the nuts. To like,
that's it. Because like you said, like we've been saying, I'm curious. Basically, most people you talk to, they kind of bash it. They get it lumped into the rest of the cryptocurrencies, right? Or they're just like, it's not even real.
Yeah.
You can't touch it. It's not real estate. It's not gold. And then even though you listen to people like Saylor or the rest of them, and they sound like they're speaking facts, it's hard to be like, I really trust them, and I'm going to do it anyways, even though everybody else is saying don't do it. You kind of feel like the crazy person sometimes. Definitely. Do you feel like that?
I do, but then also, like, all the hard questions that have been asked to me, I've done research on myself on how to answer them. So like when I hear that when I hear those sentiments, like when it's like,
you got a response
it's not real, it has no intrinsic value, there's nothing backing it. It's like, there's a lot of things that are backing it. It is real. Like we talked about earlier, it has a bigger market cap than Berkshire Hathaway. It's already crossed like 1 trillion market cap.
Yep.
And it's also backed by billions and billions hundreds of billions of dollars of mining machinery around the world.
Yep.
So like those machines are just on 24/7 all day long, and there's literally huge sites. They call them mining farms. I've literally visited them. And I'll show you some
like just hella computers, right?
Yeah, so they're basically ASIC miners, and like each individual miner can be up to like $20,000 per. You know what I mean? And there's institutions buying like boatloads of these,
right?
And they're just consistently powered on. It's pretty interesting. Let me just pull one up. But yeah, like when there's that much capital invested into it, and also like actual miners that are pretty much mining off of the Bitcoin algorithm every day. It's the strongest computer network in the world too, basically. So like whenever someone says, oh, there's nothing backing Bitcoin, it's like they're ignorant, right?
Yeah,
they don't know what they're talking about,
basically.
Like and like I said earlier, when there's actually someone that's really done their due diligence and like understands Bitcoin and gives like I haven't really met too many of them that are like still like, you know what, it's just not for me, and you actually get it. Yeah. Like if you actually spent like more than 3 hours like learning about it, instead of just like having these preconceived notions, I think.
Right. Like listen to one Saylor podcast. Yeah. Basically.
Yeah, and be open to it. I think that goes a long way.
The way that I've heard it described is like pre-internet. Or like pre-combustible, I don't know how to say that word, engine. Like when people were riding horses, people were probably like, why would I want to have an explosion in my car or get in a car when I can just ride my horse? Yeah. Like this is like an example of a really small mining farm. It's actually so innovative too. Like these things, they make sounds too. Like it's like, these are air-cooled ones, right? So basically, you know how like a ASIC miner works? No. It's basically, so all Bitcoin miners are ASIC miners, and they basically look like that. I have one miner too. I literally have one. These are some more right here. Oh, you have one?
I have one.
Yeah. And it's running? It's
running right now. It's running at one of my old customers' sites. Yeah. But those are some of the air-cooled ones. But basically, like how it works is like an ASIC miner has one job, and the one job is to try to solve the math question. Yeah, so whatever? Every time it guesses a sequence of numbers right on the algorithm, it's like the algorithm's called SHA-256. When it guesses it correctly, each miner that guesses it correctly wins a reward of 125 Bitcoin. And in the halving cycle, that reward turns into half of that. So it becomes 3 point whatever. And then basically the reward schedule every day is every 10 minutes. So every 10 minutes, that 6 point whatever Bitcoin is released into the supply.
Somebody.
So right now there's, like we both know, there's only going to be 21 million Bitcoin ever, right? Already out of that 21 million, 20 million of that is already mined. So there's only like about 1 million left to be mined.
Yep.
So you take that number, 6 point, I think 235 or 135, something like that.
Yeah.
125, and you multiply that by 6.
Okay.
That's because there's 6 10-minute periods in an hour.
Okay.
Right? And then you multiply that by 24, 24 hours in a day. That's 900. So every day there's only 900 Bitcoins that are mined and released into circulation.
Yep.
Until we get to 21 million. Right? So basically what people are fighting over is the 900 that is released every day. In April, that number is going to turn into 450.
Yep.
So it just gives you an idea of how scarce it is, right?
Exactly.
And
that's a hard thing for people to understand.
It is. But I mean, I try to keep it simple for them. Like, you could just think of Bitcoin as like a digital gold. Like,
basically,
it's just so much better than gold in every way. Like we've talked about, like you can divide it into a million pieces. You can send it across the country. You can go into different borders. You can, how are you going to bring $2 million worth of gold into like a foreign country? Or like if you want to send value to any other part of the world, like you can send it like an email.
Yep.
You can, you don't need to have it custodied by anyone else.
Exactly.
You can like go through borders, as I mentioned. Like you can literally memorize your seed phrase, take your money and your wealth anywhere in the world that you want.
Yep.
You don't need to beg your bank to let you get your own money.
Yep.
Like, so like I said, I just think it's so much more practical, and it's the strongest computer network in the world, and it's fixed, not scarce, right? Whereas no one really knows how much gold there is in the world and how much it's worth.
Exactly.
It's 10 trillion, 11 trillion, but that number kind of grows a little bit every year, right? And I think there's also a lot of counterfeit gold. Like people could like seize your gold.
Who's going to verify it?
Yeah, exactly. Like people can seize your gold. Like no one can take your Bitcoin from you. And, I think, like I said, a base case for Bitcoin is like if we match gold's market cap, about 10, 11 trillion. Right now, we're a little under 1. So it's more than a 10x, right?
Yep.
At the price we're at now, like 40K,
Hundreds of thousands.
Base case over 10K, the 10x, it's like a $400 Bitcoin at some point when we reach gold's market cap, which is great. But, that's worst case scenario in my opinion, which is really cool.
Yeah. But, and then you start talking about, let's take like 5% from stocks, 5% from real estate, 5% from bonds. And then it starts getting crazy.
It is crazy.
It starts getting crazy.
And I think what people don't understand too is like companies like Berkshire Hathaway,
that's it.
Apple, they're sitting on hundreds of billions of dollars in cash.
And what are they going to do with it?
And every year it's losing like 9 to 20% purchasing power. It's literally hundreds of billions of dollars. So how much money are they actually losing from not doing anything with it, right?
Precisely.
Even if they put 1% of those hundreds of billions of dollars into Bitcoin, like, let's say every company does that.
Yep.
Every company in the S&P 500 just puts 1%. That's huge for Bitcoin, right?
Right. Insane.
And like, literally, you have companies starting to do that. Like, but obviously, Michael Saylor, his company MicroStrategy, they put like 100% of cash reserves into Bitcoin. And it's paid off tremendously for them.
Crazy.
But, you're seeing other companies wanting to follow suit. And as time goes on, as Bitcoin becomes more mature of an asset, people are starting to wake up and be like, worst case scenario, let me just put 1% or 5% and see what happens.
Right.
And there's going to be more people that are going to be like, let me be more aggressive with it, right?
20.
Everyone's different, right?
Yep.
And I think that's what makes the Bitcoin ETF approval so huge, because it actually gives the thumbs up and the green light for a lot of institutions that want to do it, but legally can't. There's a lot of like the Fidelities, the BlackRock. Like BlackRock has $12 trillion under management.
Yep.
So once these ETFs get approved, like
how much of that is going into Bitcoin?
Even if it's 1%, like I said, and that's just one of many. And there's like 12 ETFs that are being applied for, when they get approved, and I heard it's at like 90 to 99% approval rate.
Yeah. At this point, it's like, what's holding them back?
It's a matter of when.
Right.
Even if it's not January, it's going to be sooner rather than later. And
they
like,
can't stop it.
You can't. And it's like, if they approve one, they're probably going to approve like all of them.
Got to.
So it's like, it just goes to show you like how much money is going to actually flow into the asset. And it's like, for the ETF, it's like, for a lot of those financial institutions like Fidelity, and BlackRock, they have a lot of exposure to like regular Americans, like 401ks. So like every time Americans are getting paychecks, whatever it's like bi-monthly, semi-monthly, bi-weekly, every time a paycheck is issued to millions and millions of Americans across the country, Americans are now given visibility into like, hey, I want 5% into this Bitcoin ETF that they can actually see. It's coming in like a couple months. Like, that's so insane to think. Every time a paycheck is issued for all these people here, there's more and more Bitcoin that are just getting taken off of exchanges that won't ever be seen again. Like, not even 21 million millionaires can buy one Bitcoin. So it's like, I just think that's such a huge flex, just to be able to say I have one Bitcoin. There's
Absolutely.
not even if you could say you have like 20% of a Bitcoin, that's huge. Like, people always ask me like, is it too late to get in? Like, no,
definitely
dude.
not.
I bought it at 69,000. I bought some at 15,000. And you know what I mean? Like my vision is long term. Like, I envision one day that, you know, we see like $1 million Bitcoin. Hopefully. I mean, anything can happen. I don't like to be too bullish, because people start thinking I'm like overly bullish and stuff. But let me know about you though. So like, when did you start getting in the game? Like, when did you start buying Bitcoin? Like, what's your story? Like, how do you discover it?
It's funny, man. So I bought it a couple times actually. So 2017, I think there was like, it was like the first like crypto hype. Like, a lot of people, I was in my last year of college at the time, and a lot of people were talking about it, and I didn't know shit, right? But I think Coinbase was available at the time. So I downloaded Coinbase, put like 1,000 in some shit, like fucking. I didn't even buy Bitcoin. I bought like Litecoin, and I bought Ethereum. And then I'm pretty sure it went to shit. So I got out like as it was going to shit. And then the next time I came across it again was like the end of 2019, like on some podcast. I don't remember who, but it was basically somebody was bringing up Bitcoin. And I was like, I haven't looked at my like crypto in a long time. Let me just take a look. And I think at that time it was probably like 8,000, 9,000, 10,000, 11,000.
Really good.
But I bought a little bit. I think I had like 0.08 at the time.
0.08 Bitcoin?
0.08,
so 8% of a Bitcoin.
That's right.
And you probably bought it for how much at that time?
It was probably like 10, 11,000, something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then when it went up to 65, I actually sold it. I needed some cash at the time, so I sold it. So we got back to zero. And then I'm pretty sure it was like 2021 or 2022, probably 2021. Michael Saylor on Lex Friedman. You watch that podcast?
I did,
I've watched that shit like 3 times.
You probably pick something new up every time.
Absolutely. I'm like, dude,
so
this guy is a fucking wizard.
Yeah.
So that was really like, holy shit. Like, that got me into what is inflation? Like, what really is inflation? Because they throw around the number, 2%, 3%, when it's really like, no, you have to look at it like item by item. What is gas? What is energy? What is cars? What is real estate? Da-da-da-da-da. And then it got into what is money? Why do people invest? What's the point of investing? You're trying to beat inflation. Right? Well, are you really beating inflation if your returns are 8 to 10%, but the inflation is 8 to 10%?
Yeah, you might just be breaking even.
You're just breaking even.
Exactly. And that's what
assuming you get that 8 to 10%.
And that's not even a guarantee.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And then you start hearing like, I mean, basically outside of like the top 10 S&P 500 companies, all those companies are breaking even. They're not generating cash like that, unless you're Amazon, Google, Facebook, right? Top 10. And then obviously you start to figure out like, oh, what is Bitcoin, right? It's a digital asset. It's truly scarce. It's portable. It's not controlled by anybody. You can take it anywhere. It's universally recognized. Basically like digital gold. That's how I explain it to like regular people too. It's like, if you believe in gold, like why gold is valuable, right? You can take it anywhere. Everybody will accept it. It's scarce to some extent, right? It's the same thing with Bitcoin. It's hard for people to understand, obviously, because they can't touch it, feel it, and it's new. So basically, after that, once I went down like the sailor rabbit hole, I was pretty convicted. Is like, at first I was doing the stocks, like we talked about earlier. I was doing the stocks, I was doing the ETFs, and I was like, it's too much. You know what I'm saying? And he brought up something really interesting. It's basically like all these people that play stocks, it's really gambling to some extent. You know what I'm saying? And it's a little bit unfair. Like obviously the whole money system is unfair. Yeah. Once you've done the homework and listened to these people, right? But then on top of that, one of the ways people know to get out of it is like, oh, maybe if I play a little stocks, then at least I can do something with my money. Yeah. But you
give yourself a chance.
Right, give yourself a chance. But then who really has a fighting chance? You're trying to compete against Wall Street, basically, right? That can manipulate the markets. Things happen that are totally out of your control, right? And so even if you do the stock stuff, it's not a really favorable outcome for you. Yeah. And finally, there's something, right, where you can put your money to and be pretty confident that over time it's going to obviously not get corrupted, it's going to grow in value, and that you can trust that it's going to be there. Yeah. That nobody can mess with it, essentially.
Totally
and
agree.
That was like a game changer for me, right? Because I was like, fuck, I don't want to be like reading the 10Ks and keeping up with the news on this company, right? Because all that shit is totally out of your control. Like some war happens and then boom, your stock goes down 50%.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think stocks, ETFs, I think for me personally, that was a great intro to investing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think a lot of the timeless investing principles that I adopt, I carry on over into my investment strategy. It's just with Bitcoin. Yeah. So instead of
exactly.
and I think, you know, if you invest in ETFs, if you invest in S&P 500, great.
Right.
You know,
you probably did okay.
That's 1,000% better than just holding on to cash.
Absolutely.
Right? But at the same time, like we were talking about earlier, that's barely keeping up with inflation.
Yep.
Right. And there's, if you can return 10 to 12% per year for 20 years, that's good. I mean, you'll compound well, you'll perform well eventually, and you know, like it'll do decent, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you know, as we talked about inflation, it's going crazy. So you're going to be in the green maybe a little bit, but just like 8 to 12% is good. It's cute. But like Bitcoin on average is 150%, 200% per year.
Come on now.
Sure, you're going to have years where you're down, right?
Right.
But as we talked about, it's a long-term time horizon. Like so many people, they don't have the nuts. They lose their shit. They're shit in their pants when we see a red day. Yep. It's like
5%.
I'm happy. I'm like, hell yeah. Because like the thing is, that's the only way you're going to be able to get ahead is like when it goes down to accumulate more, and like people don't understand that. And it's also like they don't have the patience to see it go down and back up. Yeah. But it's like if you don't have the patience to do that, how are you going to have the patience to hold S&P 500 for 20 years?
Exactly.
Because like the way I see Bitcoin, it's a safe haven asset in the crypto industry, where it's like you have all this other shit coins, meme coins, distraction, altcoins. Bitcoin is the one thing that's been there from day one, and it's like over half of the market cap of the entire crypto industry. Maybe not half, but around that. It dominates, right?
Yep.
So it's like the way I see it, it's like compounding interest on steroids. Absolutely. Right? So it's like I don't want to be rich when I'm fucking 65.
Right.
I don't want to be rich.
I don't want to wait till then.
What am I gonna do? Travel the world, go to the fucking club when I'm 60?
Yeah.
Right. If I can, on average, return 150%, 200% a year, and have the mental fortitude to fight through those, you know, down years and accumulate, keep the same process like a robot, I can outperform what I would perform in 20 years in like 5 to 7 years.
Yep.
So by the time I'm like, you know, my mid 30s, I can get what I would have got if I did the standard 8 to 10%, and now I'm 60 years old, or my 401k, I can finally, it's like, dude, at that point I'm like about to be dead. Like, basically, dude, I want to get rich now. Yes. You know what I mean? And it's like most people don't understand that. They don't have the mental fortitude, like we talked about, to just like, oh, it's down hella. It's like, okay, like, you should want that. Like, but that's just how people are. That's how, like you were talking about, the money system is unfair. It is unfair because most people are lazy, and the big players, the institutions, they know that. They know people are so easy to manipulate. They know people
NPCs.
Exactly. So like, it's like that for a reason. And the people that dig a little deeper, like people like you, people like me, that understand how the big boys are playing, and cannot panic when things are going down and actually take advantage of it. These are the people that are going to be successful long term. The patient money, right? And it's not even that patient. Like, just hold for 5 to 7 years. See what happens.
1 year.
Yeah, even 1 year. 1 year on a good year. You know what I mean?
You know.
So, yeah, no. I like I said, just to recap. Like, I think, there's nothing wrong with investing in stocks, and for me that was like an intro to investing and investing strategy, and like I built a lot of those same like timeless investment strategies, like dollar cost average, just be consistent, time in the market beating timing the market, and I just carry that over into Bitcoin. People think I'm crazy because it's like, oh my gosh, Bitcoin, like that's crazy. It's like, but when you do the research, it just builds my conviction. And I'm just like, okay, you can say that from the outside looking in, but how about you go listen to a podcast? How about you read a book and like be a little more educated, you know what I mean? Because some people think I'm just like some crazy guy that's trying to just put all my eggs in one basket, and they always say, oh, you need to be more diversified, you need to be more diversified. I was extremely diversified before. If you could have a crystal globe and look into the future to see what the most performant asset is, everyone's going to put all their eggs in one basket, right? If no one has the courage to put their money where their mouth is and like hold their nuts for a little bit, then you're not going to get a reward for that. Like, my strategy is not for everyone. I wouldn't even say I'm like a Bitcoin maximalist. Like, I have other assets too, but the more I do research on them, it's like, why would I invest in anything else?
Why, like, any spare cash? Like, the question is, why am I holding this in cash right now?
And like, for people that talk to me too, it's like, you don't need to be a wealthy man to invest in Bitcoin. Like, you could be a beggar. Like, you could literally have, like, if you have $10 to your net worth, you can invest $1 of Bitcoin a day.
Yeah, basically.
You know what I mean? Like,
$5.
There's days where I, like, my goal before was always to try to invest like $50 of Bitcoin a day. And it's like the tortoise and the hare. You just chip away. And there's days that I don't buy. There's days I just buy $20. But those days stack up if you're consistent with them. You just stack your chips. Stack your chips. You give yourself a chance to grow. It's like a snowball at the top of the hill, and as time goes on, time is your friend. Time is your friend. That's how you get that compounding interest for that parabolic curve. As each month goes by, as each year goes by, you know what I mean? Like, it's just going to compound parabolically. And, I've experienced a little bit of that. Like, so the story for me, and I appreciate you telling me yours. I know I'm talking for a while.
No worries.
How I got into it is actually a really funny story. So I'm like big into UFC fights.
Oh, me too.
Right? Okay, that's UFC, cool. Yeah, we got a lot of similar interests. That's what's up. But I'm big into it. So there was one time where I like...
Do you mind holding this?
Yeah, I got you. I did some bets on a fight. And this is like years ago. Probably right around when you started getting into it. Maybe like 2019, 2020. But anyways, I bet, and the payout was in Bitcoin. And I didn't even know what the fuck Bitcoin was at that time. So I was like, I actually won the bet. I think it was like, I don't remember the fight, but anyways, I won. It was like Dustin Poirier, Dan Hooker or something. I picked Dustin Poirier to win. He won the fight. And then I got paid on Bitcoin. And I'm like, I don't even know what this is. So the second I got it, I just transferred it into money, into fiat. And I just got paid out. I had like $200 in fiat. And then I was like, okay. And I started like researching what is Bitcoin, and I was like, all right, you know what, next time I'm gonna do one more bet. I did one more bet and I won again. I got paid in Bitcoin, and this time I'm like, I'm keeping the Bitcoin. And then I just kept that Bitcoin in my Cash App account, and then I saw that 200 turn to 1,000, because that was like, so the first time I bought Bitcoin was like, it was around like 10,000, and I saw that go up like so fast, and I'm like, okay, let me actually dive into this a little bit. And then like that's when I started like listening to Michael Saylor, and then like, so I bought all the way from 10,000 all the way up to 69, and then I also experienced that euphoria of like, man, we're going to the moon. Like, I
like
thought,
you said earlier,
I thought,
we were hitting
thought,
100.
you know, there was the Plan B had all these like predictions for Bitcoin to be like 260K like a year ago, right? So I thought we were going to have that a couple years ago, and you know, I mean, it didn't happen that way, and I'm actually so grateful that it didn't happen, because I was able to accumulate so much more Bitcoin.
Absolutely.
But the thing is, I got to experience the euphoria, but then I also got to experience the entire bear market.
Yeah.
So the entire bear, so I bought all the way from 10 all the way to 40, back down to 30, back to 30 to 69, then all the way down for like a year straight, all the way down to 15K. Yeah. And then here we are now, it's back up to like a 44, 45. It's like up 160%. So that's just life experience, and it's just like, it shows you how the cycles work. It shows you every 4 years the halving cycle too. Like the last halving was when it was like at like 8K all the way to 60K. So we're approaching April 2024 now, and like, you know, who knows what's going to happen. I can only imagine after all the FTX bullshit, all the stuff that the Luna guy, all the bad players in the crypto space getting shaken out, the exchanges and all that stuff, all this people getting scared out. Like, I think a lot of the bad actors have been shaken out, and like, it's just really, Bitcoin's just been resilient through that whole process.
Yeah,
and like,
basically,
I'm that much more convicted now, especially with the ETF on the horizon, and then the halving in April. It's like
there's two major things.
Yeah, and we got to 69K 2 years ago before all that bullshit.
Right.
All that bullshit's cleared out now.
Yep.
So it's like, now it's like forcing regulators to like give us clarity. It's forcing like politicians to adapt it. And I think the USA, after the China ban, is really trying to be number one with Bitcoin mining. So that's
they
also
are like
huge.
a top 10 holder.
Yeah. No, Bitcoin mining, I think right now in the world is number one in USA.
Really?
So it'd be a big mistake. It'd be a big tragedy if US banned it or did something with it. I think we want to hold on to that.
Yeah.
Because
sorry to interrupt you, but just like one thing on that. Like, for most of the conversation so far, we've talking about in the context of the United States. It's just the United States, man.
It's a global asset.
This is a global asset.
Yeah.
And you got global players at all levels. Not just the United States companies. Other countries, other companies in other countries gonna try to get access to this thing.
I mean, look at El Salvador. I mean, it solves such a big problem too. Like, even if you just have, how many immigrants are in the U.S. that have money that send money home to their home country every month, right?
Or
so
don't have a bank.
Exactly. So think about it like this: like they get USD, right? Let's say it's a guy from Argentina, and then he sends like $1,000 of USD to his family in Argentina every month. He goes through like a Western Union or like a money exchange. They take a fee. It's like 5%, right?
Yep.
So now that's you know, you take that away, and then
they probably take a fee on the other side too
to convert the USD to their Argentine peso. And then on top of that, now you have another fee for that, and then you're transferring it into a currency that's also being hyperinflated. So every month you're losing more and more. Yeah. By the time it gets there, it's like lost like 50-60% of its value.
Sick.
With Bitcoin, if you send it from US to Argentina, like, because the Argentina peso, like Venezuela, these countries that have like hyperinflation, you literally work so hard, you're like working on a melting ice cube. It's like you're running in place. And it's like you're gonna die. Like you're never gonna save any money. Like
how Michael Saylor says, you're bleeding out, basically.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. And it's like you send this money to them, and by the time it gets there, there's all these fees that are tacked on that just are. It's your money that you're giving to these money transfers and like these Western Unions, and then you're transferring it into their currency that's losing tremendous value every month. By the time it gets there, it's lost so much value. Whereas if you just send them Bitcoin, if that same person sent them $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, that money would have gone up 160% in the last year. That 1,000% would have been like 2,600 right now. You know what I mean? So it's like it not only gives yourself a chance, but it you can send it over without an intermediary. You can. And it also grows, right? So it's like it solves such a big issue, and that's just one small utility of Bitcoin.
Yep.
But like as we were mentioning, it's not just USA, right? And those countries really need it.
Absolutely.
They don't even have bank accounts, right? So it's like this is empowering them to like, okay, fuck this currency that's like I have to spend $1 billion for a loaf of bread.
Right.
I have to spend like $1 billion to fill up my it's an inflated currency.
Absolutely.
But then it's like they really need it. It's like, you know what, fuck that currency. I'm gonna just buy Bitcoin. I'm gonna stack my chips.
Yep.
And instead of me working my ass off, like I'm gonna still work my ass off, whatever, but in 2, 3, 4 years I'm gonna have something to show for it, versus like I'm working my ass off and I have nothing to show for it.
Absolutely.
And I'm dying and I'm starving.
How many people are in that position? So many.
Millions.
Look
at all these countries in Africa, all these these third world countries. Like Bitcoin gives those countries a chance, and like El Salvador actually accepted it as legal tender, and I think a lot of these South American countries are going to start following suit, because I mean El Salvador got a lot of heat during the bear market, but like it's performed extremely well now, and like they're benefiting hugely from it. So I think a lot of those countries are really going to follow suit, and I think USA is going to lead the way, hopefully. I mean, just the way I talk about it to people is like, inevitably, like we talk about, it's a fixed supply. How many high school kids are going to go into college next year? How many of those college kids, in the next 5 years, are going to get jobs? All of them have smartphones. Mm-hmm. All of them have, access to be able to download Coinbase and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like how much easier is it for someone to buy Bitcoin than gold? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And a fractional part of it. And it's like, there's going to be more eyeballs on it. As it goes up, there's just going to be more exposure. People are going to get older. More and more people like us are going to continue accumulating. There's just going to be less and less of it available. And like I said, it's like less than 1% of the world owns any sort of Bitcoin right now. Yeah. Like, it's just simple supply and demand. Basically. It forces the price up. So basically, I'm really excited. That's why I wanted to get on this podcast with you before the ETF. Right. Because it could be approved as early as January 10th. Right. So which is insane. We should do a follow-up podcast, like maybe whatever middle of like next year or something like that, and see where the price is at. We can like. Are you going to be in San Jose like for the next year? Maybe. I mean, I'm going to go overseas to play basketball at some point, and then I'll come back. This is always my home base. Yeah. So but yeah, I mean, my strategy it's stayed the same. At first it was like stocks, ETFs, and Bitcoin and Ethereum and this. Yeah. I liquidated everything. I liquidated my 401k. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, I use my fiat to like pay my bills and all that stuff. But it'll be interesting to like see where things go. And like I said, my strategy is not. It's not the most sexy strategy. It's not like options. It's not this. It's not that. I just buy and I never sell. Yeah. So like, it could pay off for me, or I could be a big idiot, right? Hey, if I'm wrong, if it goes to zero. But that's a learning lesson too. Absolutely. And I think for me, one of the biggest things that I've taken away from this whole time is like, you control your own destiny, basically. Like, one thing that really stood out to me is this idea of like keeping your money in the banks. You're basically allowing a third party, somebody that you don't know, to hold your money for you. Yeah. Like, that kind of sounds preposterous when you really think about it, right? And then you're losing value on that too. And then you get into the whole situations where, like, does the bank actually have your money? Yeah, they don't. They don't, right? Just numbers on the screen. Absolutely. And it's funny when people say, like, Bitcoin is not real. It's like, well, shit, is the number in your bank account real? Like, how do you know the bank actually has your money? Exactly. Like, if you go to them right now and ask them, can I get my 100K? Are they going to give you 100K right away? Or are they going to say, we'll give you 10 right now. Yeah, you gotta wait a little bit. Yeah, most people don't get that. You know what I'm saying? So that was a really big thing, is like, finally, I can take control of it. Yeah. Like, you have power, you have full autonomy. Yes, there are risks, like we said. You fuck gotta up, be responsible you for send that. It to the wrong address, it's a wrap, boy. But that's life. That is life. You drive fucked up, you hit somebody. I'd rather have control of it, though. And I'd rather give myself a chance to grow and compound and prosper and you know what I mean? Not get out the system. It's financial exactly. This is escaping system. The matrix, right? Like, and that's how I live my life. Like, I wake up, I do the things I want to do. I play basketball. I work on my, my game. I exercise. I try to get out. I spend time with my dog. Like, I have my barbershop and stuff too. But I do things that I want to do. I don't like doing what the system wants me to do, and like
Absolutely.
9 to 5
Conform.
Exactly. And I think
Be a sheep.
Bitcoin is a great way to like escape that. And,
Absolutely.
you know, like people, they were harsh towards me when it was the bear market. I was down like 50, 60, 70K at certain points. But I hope they keep that same energy now.
Absolutely.
I'm
They
back in the green
now,
now.
boy. They
And
quiet
now they're asking me like, hey, so how do I buy something? You know what I mean? So, but I mean, I'm happy to help anyone. You know what I mean? I think it's. I still think Bitcoin's a great buy at 100K. I'm going to continue to buy.
Absolutely.
So
That's an interesting question. Like, when you go about your life, talking to your friends, family, like, do you try to bring it up, or are you more like, if they ask you about it, you'll talk about it, but you don't really try to be pushy? Because I'm trying to figure that out myself. Like, on the one hand, you feel like, I think Michael Saylor said it's kind of like encouraging people to own property.
Yeah.
Like, at some point in your life,
property.
you should own some property. It's good for you. Like, it'll probably be good for you, right?
Yeah.
Or, like, you should exercise a little bit. Whatever you can manage, do a little bit of exercise. I kind of see advocating for Bitcoin as the same thing. It's like, you can put a little bit of money towards this, do it. But then, obviously, like we mentioned so far, you get met with all kinds of reactions.
Absolutely.
So I'm trying to figure out, like, do I keep, like, talking about it, or just stay quiet if people ask, tell them?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I've dealt with those exact same things. I think it's kind of like anything, right? Like, you can't force anything onto anyone, but I would encourage someone, like, depending on how much level of interest they're showing, but like if they're somewhat interested, I would never be like, hey, you know what, take all your money in your bank right now and just buy Bitcoin with it now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, buy $10 a week, see what happens. Buy $10 a week, $10 a month. Buy $50.
Whatever you can manage.
Whatever,
The
even if it's
smallest
5,
you can manage.
see what happens to that 5. Watch that 5 turn to 10.
Absolutely.
And it's like, okay, maybe I put 20. Watch that 20 turn to 40.
Absolutely.
Watch that 20 turn to 200. It's like, okay, let me put 1,000. Watch that 1,000 turn to 10,000.
Right.
Now they're asking all types of questions. Now they're actually interested. But the thing, it goes the other way too. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, for my mom, like, this is terrible timing, but basically I showed my mom my performance. I was performing like 150%. I was up like 40, 50K on Bitcoin, and like I was so happy on it. Like I said, this is roughly when Bitcoin is around 50K, and I thought we were going all the way up. I convinced my mom basically to buy like 50K worth of Bitcoin. Yeah, just
was
right
then
there. It was. It went. That was like before the bear market, and it went all the way from 60 all the way down to 15. Right, and she's like, "Derek, what's happening? What's happening?" Yeah. I mean, nothing that I said changed. I mean, the price went down, but at the same time, it's like
everything else is still true about the Bitcoin.
I mean, you have to have a long time horizon. It's not a get rich quick scheme.
Basically,
it's still like I said, those same timeless investment principles. It's like. It was never a get rich quick scheme. If it goes from 60 to 100 tomorrow, that's great. But I'm still not selling. Like, so that's what I need to explain to her. It's like, yeah, it sucks to see your money go down. Like, oh, I went from 50K to 25K, but you still have the same amount of Bitcoin. The USD value went down, but like your Bitcoin doesn't change. If you're really smart, you would buy more to bring your cost average down. So by the time you get through the other side, you're actually way in the green, right? And that's what I talked to you earlier about. Like, even though, like I said, I bought all the way up to 69, and I bought all the way down, and how I thought it was going to go to 100K, 200K like a year or two ago, I'm so glad that it didn't. I'm so glad that it didn't, because
gave you time.
That $100 of Bitcoin that I would have bought at 100K versus 50K, I'm getting double the amount of Bitcoin. And when it's at 15K, I'm getting even more value it's a huge discount. Right? So, but most people don't see it that way. Most people are like, holy shit, let me sell at a loss before it all goes away.
Right.
Where I was doubling down.
Out.
And that's the worst thing you can do. You're selling your Bitcoin at a loss, and now you have nothing to show for it. So, it's a long-term vision, but not too long, right? Not 20, 30 years. I'm just saying 5, 10 years. 5 to 10 years. Do you have the balls to hold and buy for 5 to 10 years?
Right.
That's not asking too much. Like, it might have been 5 to 10 years since the last time I saw you.
Basically.
Imagine if you started buying Bitcoin 5 to 10 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, and those are the guys I'll never be able to catch, right? Those are the guys that spent $100 to buy Bitcoin when it was at $1. They could buy 100 Bitcoins.
Right.
Now it's like so hard to just even get to one Bitcoin. Right. So but it's perspective, and like.
But the crazy thing is, like, even though that's true, would you say it's still early?
Yes.
Isn't
Absolutely.
that insane?
Absolutely. It's so early. Like, what I envision the world one day. Like,
can you hold this?
Yeah, I'm never gonna sell my Bitcoin. So like, whether that means like, because people always ask, okay, so when are you gonna sell it? Like, when are you gonna like take profits and stuff?
Right.
Never.
Right.
Because like, I envision it taking over gold, right?
Yep.
And I envision like all this trillions of dollars from all these ETFs allowing for institutions to invest in it. That means that when that comes, the world, like, a lot more than 1% of the world's going to own Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the world's going to be much more friendly towards Bitcoin. I mean, look at the way the world's going right now. How many people actually use cash now? Like, you're sending money to your friends, like, hey, I'm a Venmo you.
Cash App.
I'm a Cash App, Apple Pay.
Yeah.
That's the direction the world's going. We're not going backwards. We're not going back to like using cash, and we're not going back to like trading pebbles, and like, we're not going that way.
Yeah.
We're going the other way,
yeah.
right? And we see it happening now. So it's like, you got to just kind of put 2 and 2 together.
Get with the times, man.
Exactly. So like, you just use your common sense, and you just see, like, it's still so early. Like, only 1% of the world owns it. It's not even approved on ETF yet. Most companies don't even have it on their balance sheet, because I promise you, a lot of these companies are like, yo, holy shit, what the fuck do we do with all this cash?
That's what I'm saying.
Like, we can't continue to lose. Like, 15% of 100 million is $15 million.
Right.
Like, we can't lose $15 million of purchasing power every year.
No way.
We want to go the other way,
Yes.
right? And they're just looking for options, and as Bitcoin matures, it's a clear option. There's nothing that's outperformed it in the past decade.
Yeah.
And, you know, who's to say that continues in the next decade? But as it matures, it just, each year that goes by gives it another year of a track record. It's like resilient. It's still here.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
still standing. It's
like
like,
after all this shit, right?
Yeah.
FTX, the other guys, it's still going.
Yeah, and people always say, like, oh, well, what happens when the next Bitcoin comes and overtakes Bitcoin? It's like, okay, well, first of all, it's got to run the test of time, and then it's got to get to a $1 trillion market cap. Like, that's not an easy thing for something to do. And it's got to run the test of time. It's been around for, 13 years?
Yeah.
Do it from now for 13 more years, and then see what happens.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Most people don't get that, too. It's just like, they're just... It's just not an intelligent argument.
Yeah, no.
It's just
like,
oh,
emotional.
well, the next thing's going to come. Like, okay, when that next thing comes, like, is it going to run the test of time? Is it going to, you know what I mean, do everything that Bitcoin's done?
Yeah.
And, like, it's survived everything, and it comes back stronger every time. So it's crazy.
Damn. What was I going to say? Yeah, it's all right. We'll pause on the Bitcoin. Tell me about the basketball, man.
Yeah.
So you go from Santa Teresa. You said you went to a prep school, NAIA, JUCO, Cal, and then overseas.
Yeah.
You stuck with it.
Yeah, I
Tell me about that journey.
Crazy journey.
I'm sure it's a long story.
Yeah.
But give me...
I'll give you, like, a quick version.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, man. Like, we met back when I was in high school. Like, we were
What was the
playing
team name?
Ballin'
Ambassadors, boy.
Yeah, Coach Allen. Shout out Coach Allen. But, yeah, man, that was always my dream to play Division I basketball. And I was fortunate enough to accomplish that goal. But it wasn't easy. Like,
of course not.
I've had coaches tell me, like, to my face, you have 0% chance of playing Division I. You have
You
0% of playing pro.
Yeah.
My high school coach told me, like, you know how many guys are going to play pro basketball in our league?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know, maybe a few. He's like, no, 0. Like, this is just for high school. Like, just, you know, you're a good player, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, I was faced with that kind of sentiment, like, throughout my whole career. But I just never gave up. I never quit. Like, and
stuck to it.
Went to prep school. The prep school fell apart. Like, we were all living in 2 houses, and then we got evicted from one house. All the players were living in, like, a room with, like, 3 bunk beds, like 6 guys sharing 1 bathroom.
Yikes.
And then we got evicted from that house, and then that went
Where was
crazy.
this?
This is in San Diego.
Okay.
And then I went from there. Fortunate, I got to NAIA partial scholarship in San Diego as well. That didn't really work out. Had a falling out with the coach there, and then I went junior college, and I thought I was going to dominate junior college because I came from getting a scholarship somewhere else. So then I went to Foothill, and I didn't dominate. The first year I came off the bench, I only averaged like 4 points a game. And then second year I finally, stuck it out and like had a good second season. I started every game. I averaged double digits. I had a couple big games. And then it was time to figure out what's the next step after that. And I always told my coach, like, I wanted to go Division I. That would be amazing. But realistically, my goal would be to play Division II, like in the CCAA schools like Chico State, UC San Diego, Sonoma State. Like, that was my goal. So after the season was done, I, like, reached out to a bunch of teams, and then coach told me he was going to reach out to Berkeley, and just as a long shot. And I had visited the school as well, just for fun, just on my own. Just check out the basketball offices. I literally just came to the basketball offices. I introduced myself. I was like, hey, I'm Derek. I played at Foothill this year, whatever. And I just told my coach to follow up, right? Yeah. And then...
You talked to the coach? Like,
yeah. Not the head coach, but one of the assistants. And I just introduced myself. Yeah. And then he's like, you know what? Like, yeah, follow up with us. Send us some information. And then, so I had my coach do that on my behalf. And I didn't really think too much of it. It was kind of a long shot.
Of course. And
then I get a call like 2 weeks later out of nowhere. And it's like the same assistant that I saw at Berkeley. And he was like, hey, Derek, just want to let you know we'll have you on as a preferred walk-on next season, so just be ready to go. I'm like, what? Are you serious? Like, literally a call came out of nowhere. It was like 2 weeks after too. I forgot about it, honestly. Right. I thought it was just like a dead thing. And that's how that story happened. But out of Foothill, I actually had a chance to walk on.
Were you locked in right away? Like, this is it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that opportunity to play there, play against other NBA players. Like, we played against Alonzo Ball, Markelle Fultz, DeAndre Ayton was in our league. So very good competition. And out of Foothill, I had an opportunity to play at a few D2s, like I mentioned, and also University of San Diego said they would have me as a walk-on there. So that was a big accomplishment for me. But once I got there, it's like, no time to celebrate. It's like, I want to play.
You gotta get straight to work.
It was tough. It was a Pac-12 school, very high level competition, and there's scholarship guys, right? They're going to always get play. So I didn't get that much minutes over there, but it was still a great experience. Got my degree and all that stuff. And then, after...
And you're running with these guys.
Yeah,
right?
and I was. Great experience. Great experience. Got to travel with the team. Got to get my degree. So looking back, no regrets. I always think, like, man, what if I went Division II and, like, became All-American, played a lot? That would have been cool too, but, my journey is my journey. And,
absolutely.
It felt good to just get to that level and prove all the people that doubted me wrong.
Right.
Even my own family. A lot of them, my own mom, my own dad, is like, it's time to move on to other things. Yeah,
work on your career or something.
And I didn't listen to any of that. And then going pro, it's always like a theme in my life. It's like you start at the bottom and you climb your way up to the top. You can go to the next level, and then you get kicked all the way to the bottom again, and you climb your way up.
Yes.
So then it's pro, right? Yes. And then I got to play in the ABL, which was a cool opportunity. I got to travel across Asia, play teams from like Philippines, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Taiwan, Thailand. So we just traveling across Asia, playing pro games. There's like former NBA players in there, and it was a great opportunity. And I did that. I also played in Taiwan for a couple of years. And I'm 30 years old now. I'm still at it. So like. I'm fortunate.
You still want to keep going?
No, yeah, for sure. I actually just signed a contract to go to Thailand, but that didn't fall through, so I'm looking for another team right now.
Okay.
But that's the goal. I definitely feel like I have a lot to prove still, to myself and also all my haters.
Yeah,
so, I'm still hungry. My game's sharp. Like, I feel like I'm the best I've ever been, like mentally and all that stuff too.
Yeah.
Still hungry, still going after it. So, I'm gonna do that, and then I'm just fortunate too, like that I'm able to still have my barbershop. You should come by sometime too. I know probably not this time.
Send me the location.
I'll hook you up. And
it's your shop.
It's my shop. Yeah, it's a 50-50 ownership with another full-time barber. But I rent out the stations, and I do some of my own haircuts. That kind of keeps me afloat. And then I actually also currently work for a Bitcoin mining company.
Okay.
I do that remotely.
Nice.
I just help onboard people to the Bitcoin mining platform.
Yeah.
So these things kind of keep me afloat while I pursue my main
passion.
Passion. I was gonna say dream. It's not a dream. It's a reality. You know what I mean? So it's that's what I spend my time doing. I do my Bitcoin stuff for income, my barbershop, and then I work out You know what I mean? And,
Yep.
and this is like kind of what I want to do. And
Like you said earlier, it's
Yeah.
like all the stuff you want to do.
all the stuff I want to do. Yeah, I try not to. I hate systems.
Of
like
course.
like we were talking about how the school system
Yes,
is so
dude.
jacked up and
Do
everything.
it this way. Be like this.
Yeah. So
Go here. Go do
But
this.
I mean that there's a time and place for. I mean, there's the good actors there too, right? Like you're trying to be like a positive change. You're
Of course.
coaching and stuff like that. I think we need more of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's tough though. But yeah, it's just sorting systems, man. It's just always like the system, the matrix, trying to keep you acting a certain way.
Yeah.
Sorting you into this type of job. If you
Yeah.
get these grades, you go to this school, and this will sort you into that.
Yes.
And you can be this, and you can be that. It's like, no,
Right.
I'm gonna do what I want to do.
Right. Let me
Yeah.
explore. Let me
Exactly.
look at what's available and decide for myself.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, just because you've used the phrase "the Matrix,"
Mhm.
are you familiar with Andrew Tate?
Yeah. Yeah. He's a funny guy.
He's a funny guy.
Definitely don't agree with everything
Of
he
course
says,
not.
but
Yeah.
there's some truth to
Yeah.
some of the stuff he says for sure.
Of course.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys always like, the Matrix is trying to get me, boy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I think a lot of I didn't really have strong opinions until like kind of the last election
Mhm.
when Joe Biden won.
Mhm.
And yeah, I was always of the camp of like, oh, Donald Trump's like kind of, he's racist, he's this, he's that.
Yeah.
But then it kind of like, it was kind of like an awakening for me too, because like I started to realize how much of the mainstream media was like complete BS. And
Absolutely.
like how much that
It's all a
people are,
narrative.
there's so much emotion that people are emotional. And like I took a step back and started to develop my own like strong political opinions, my opinions about like investing, my opinions about like
Everything.
everything. Like
It's like the Bitcoin stuff really made me think from first principles, right? Like all the stuff that that is conventional knowledge, disregard all of it and look at the bottom for yourself.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what is money? What is schooling? What does it mean to be educated? What does it mean to have a career? Right? All the stuff that you've told me, sure, okay, that's worked for you, but I need to figure this out for myself.
There's a reason why they don't teach you how to invest in school.
I'm sure.
They don't want people to be financially capable. They don't
Yeah.
want people to be financially awake.
Yep.
Because
Individuals.
like it's not, the system's not built for everyone to be successful, because we're conditioned from such a young age to save our money, to work 2 jobs and like save all my cash.
Yeah. Don't buy that coffee.
Yeah, and like exactly. It's like I buy whatever the fuck I want.
Yes.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? Because I'm good, because I'm invested, and like that's what most people do. It's like they live paycheck to paycheck. They earn their money, they save their money, and it's like the reason why they're not taught that. I mean, that's a big reason why the whole system's corrupt. But I mean, it just goes to show you, if they really did have our best interests at heart,
Mm-hmm.
we'd be teaching kids, hey, when you're in high school, invest $1 a day into S&P 500. Right.
And
Every
just
dollar,
track it.
exactly.
See how it goes.
That would help a lot of people, right?
Dude.
But there's so many people graduate high school, graduate college. You'd be surprised
No
that
clue.
you have no idea, and it's just like it's like that for a reason,
Of
right?
course.
The big players want to win. At the end of the day, they want to continue to stay rich. The rich don't want to lose, right? So you got to just dig a little deeper. Look at behind the scenes. What's going on? Like,
Absolutely.
oh, if I'm a valedictorian, if I get a 4.0, does that mean I'm going to be super successful in life?
Definitely not.
Right.
Definitely not.
So,
No
like,
guarantees, boy.
Exactly. So no, I think it's really cool to talk with someone else that's like like-minded and stuff like that. And we got a lot of the stuff you post some great quotes and stuff.
Thank
too.
you.
I like about stoicism and stuff.
Yeah.
That's something I struggle with, honestly. I'm like a very emotional guy, and like I get pissed off really easy. I got a short temper.
Mm-hmm.
But the stoicism stuff, like I think it's a big part of being a man, and
Absolutely.
like how to be a successful person.
Yeah.
Not only just like a wealthy
Or just
person.
like navigate life, right? Because like you said,
Absolutely.
like you're gonna go through this shit, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, man.
Like, are you gonna
Fold.
be turbulent?
Yeah.
Right? Are you gonna like be emotional? Or are you gonna like stay calm and stay steady and just like keep pressing forward?
Exactly. It's kind of like there's like parallels with like with
Riding
that
the volatility.
exactly with
Yeah.
Bitcoin and life.
Yes.
Right. Like
It's volatile,
the bear
boy.
market. Like you might have the worst year in your life. Your mom might die. You might get hit by a truck. You might get paralyzed. You might whatever. I mean, you could lose an arm, you can get bit by a shark, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But then ride that, you know what I mean, and go right through it, and it's like it's not going to be shitty forever,
Right.
unless you make it.
That's it.
Shitty. Right? If you still have that fighting spirit, if you still have the courage to push forward and fight for a better life and a better outcome, like that opportunity is there for you. And it's kind of a parallel with Bitcoin. It's like that volatility when shit hits the fan. It's like that's an opportunity.
Yes.
That's an opportunity for you to rise. And it's like
bounce back.
What are you gonna do with it? Like, what are you gonna do with it? Are you gonna, oh shit, I'm gonna shit my pants and like sell everything at a loss, and now I've lost everything?
Yeah.
Or you know, what I mean,
point the fingers.
Exactly.
Like, I'm here because
and that's just
of you,
how people are.
You.
Yeah. So no, it's really good talk, man.
Absolutely.
But yeah. So I mean, it's Christmas Eve. You got like plans with like family and stuff later?
Basically, right now I'm gonna go meet up with some friends.
That's cool.
And just catch up. Same thing. Haven't seen them for a while.
Yeah.
See them, catch up, and then head over to my aunt's house for Christmas.
So, no, I'm glad we got to get some shots up too. That was fun. And then
Same. I should have put my shoes on.
Oh yeah,
I thought we were like for real, like just gonna be like casual with
it. Was pretty chill.
It was chill.
Yeah.
It would have been better with the shoes on.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, let's definitely follow up on this. Let's see what happens in like 6 months, and then let's do like a follow up. Like podcast, maybe for good or for bad. Maybe shit hits the fan. There's a black swan event.
Look, man,
like,
I always say the shit could go to zero. I always keep that.
I don't have all the answers.
It's not a non-zero probability.
Yeah, my thing isn't for everybody.
Yeah,
that's just the way I do it.
Yeah,
One
more question before we get out of here.
For sure.
What's your play style? Like, how would you
basketball?
What kind of player are you these days?
So these days, I'm like, I would say I'm a scorer.
Okay.
I'm a shooter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like a strong defender. Like I'm an aggressive defender.
Yeah.
And like I've like lately in the last couple of years I've really developed like a good flow game.
Mm-hmm.
Pull-ups off the pick and roll.
Yep.
My playmaking, I've worked on that, and then also just making a lot of reads like off the ball, like backdoor cuts, curling. Learning when to shoot off a flare, like just learning how to be successful in a lot of different actions.
Yeah.
But I would say I'm like professionally I've been like classified as like a 3-and-D player, kind of like a JJ Redick or like a Kyle Korver. But you know I've developed a lot.
What is it? Malik Bridges?
Oh, Miles Bridges? Yeah, he's fucking good. Yeah, but no, I've definitely tried to expand my game.
Yeah,
and, get that in between game, the floater game, like the passes, the hook passes, like just kind of doing it all.
That's kind of the way the game has gone, right? Like basically you gotta be able to do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, you gotta be a threat, like in all. I mean, if you want to be a good player, you can't just be one-dimensional. I mean, you can if you're like phenomenal at one thing.
Right.
But for me, like when I get in the zone, when I lose myself in the game, and I'm in that rhythm, like that's who I am at my core, and like that's my passion and that's my expression to the world. Is like when I'm in that zone, and like I feel like I'm the man, and every shot's going in, and like I'm sure you can relate to. You play basketball too, so you know that feeling.
Of course.
And it's like that's like how I express myself to the world, and it's just like that's what I'm after, to be able to be that guy on like the professional stage, and I feel like I still have so much to prove, and that's because I've had like solid pro seasons and stuff like that, but I've always just been like, a catch and shoot guy, and like just like the supporting cast and stuff like that. And I just think personally, and also like to help a team win, I think I'm capable of so much more, and that's kind of what keeps me going.
Got it. Yeah. So you want to demonstrate that? Definitely.
Offensively, defensively, and just help a team win.
Yeah.
So that's I've dedicated my life to the game, man. Like literally, like I put everything else on hold. Like I'm 30 years old, but like the thought of marriage, having kids, and like even my career, like I could have went on and like really pursued like getting ahead in corporate world, because I worked at a startup before. I did that when there was COVID and stuff like that, and I really could have like just kept going with that and like made my focus just making money as much as I possibly could.
Yeah.
But I put all that on hold. My like having kids, family, like getting ahead in corporate America.
Right.
All that isn't more important to me. Like I'm married to the game, bro.
I love it.
Married to the game. I'm 30 years old. I'm still just as hungry as I was when I was 18. So
that's crazy, boy.
Yeah, here I am.
I respect it.
Still at it, man.
Yeah, because it's not easy. I know. Like just at every step of the way, things get harder. Competition gets harder. Like
politics,
you said. Politics.
All
people
that.
telling you like, bro, just just stop.
Exactly.
Like, you're not gonna make it, or like your parents even, right?
Even parents.
Family, friends,
Yeah.
like, bro, like you really still doing this? It's tough, man.
Yeah, man.
It's tough to like
is.
stand on your 10 toes and be
Yeah.
like, nah, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, but
So-
it's worth it though, for sure. Like I did spend some time away from it. You know, I broke my foot actually, so that was huge. And then also the COVID thing happened.
Mm-hmm.
But then after I took time away from it, I was like, I need to be back. I need to be back. Like, and I know for a fact now when I'm on this, it's like when I work on my game every single day, and like when I play, like I'm on my purpose.
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah,
it's
it
just
feels
like
right.
this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like with the rhythm of the world and like how things, like this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And there's all this adversity thrown my way, and even so, like I just know I'm on my purpose. So it's like it might not work out for me in the end. It might, whatever, but I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So
Right.
I'm gonna keep striving for it, and like whatever happens, But I'm gonna give 110% effort. You know what I mean?
I love it. Inspirational, my guy.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time.
Appreciate your time. This is long overdue. I know we've been talking about this.
I know. I'm glad we were